What is going on, everybody? Taylor here, and today I'm really excited to give you guys my non spoiler review for Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning. I was fortunate enough to get to go to an early press screening that had some press, that had some fans. It was a really great time, and I would love to get you all very excited for this film if you're not already, get you more hyped for this film if you're already looking forward to it. So let's dive in. First of all, I will always choose to accept a mission with and or from the president of movies, Mr. Tom Cruise. He is one of the most interesting, dedicated actors working in the business right now. He knows so much about the industry and the technical side of filmmaking and puts so much effort into assembling a crew and working with the directors and the stunt team, and really shepherding the younger members of the cast in the right direction, really offering them mentorship, and plucking them and bringing them along for other films that he's working on. So let's talk about some of the things that I didn't love about Final Reckoning, and then we can get to all the good stuff. First of all, it's a long movie, and there are a few moments when I really felt it. Overall, it's a bit messy, and there are definitely moments I think they could have cut to make it a tighter story overall. There are scenes that probably could have been trimmed to help with some of the pacing issues. The beginning of the film has far too many flashbacks and too much exposition, and I know it's not uncommon for mission movies to have exposition, and quite a bit of it, but I think the execution here is what I have a problem with. A lot of it plays out like it's expecting the audience to have not seen a Mission Impossible movie or to not really remember much from any of the previous films, and really takes quite a bit of time to go back and revisit some of those moments, which on the one hand is really cool to see because there are so many cool moments that you absolutely want to bring attention to and that are really cool to see again. But I think they could have cut back on that a little bit as well. I like a good flashback scene. So I wish they would have utilized them a little bit differently here because there are times when I found it disorienting. And like I said, didn't quite work as an effective storytelling device. That being said, there is a lot to love about this movie, especially if you like the Mission Impossible movies, just generally speaking. So let's dive into that. One of the best elements of this movie is the group dynamic, the chemistry between all of the team members. I really enjoyed the group interaction specifically between Benji, Paris, and Degas. I think that Simon Pegg and Palm Clementif and Greg Tarzan Davis make for a really funny, quirky, unexpected trio. And when you pair that with the iconic, what I consider OG trio of Luther, Ethan, and Benji, who continue to be the trio that you know and love, it's just kind of a really cool parallel that the movie has going on. And I think it makes it really easy for you to fall in love with like the newer trio. So that's something that was unexpected to me, but I loved a lot. I think that Palm Clementif as Paris is just such a cool, uh, interesting, just no nonsense character who's not afraid to kick so much ass and defend herself and pull the trigger and ask questions later, but she's also willing to work as part of this team. And I love the way that they kind of bring her into it, and how she becomes a part of it almost kind of reluctantly. And Simon Pegg as Benji, he so quickly became such an important part of the team right from the jump. And to see the journey he's been on to get to this point, and to really get to appreciate his character development and see who he's become, and how he's so much more comfortable in the field and in this kind of role. Super fun to see. Then, like I said, the entire group just has great dynamic, lot of fun chemistry, and that's a huge part of why these movies work when they work. The moments of levity and humor are very effective, and the comedic timing that Tom Cruise and Haley Atwell specifically have, both individually and when sharing scenes together, super fun to watch. Their dynamic is something I wish we would have gotten to explore more of. Two movies worth is great, but it also kind of feels like, man, I wish there was more to look forward to. There is one particular sequence that I think is my favorite of the whole movie. It's up there if it's not the favorite. And they've shown a small snippet of it in the trailer footage that has been released where it's Tom Cruise in the submarine in the middle of a fight in only tight black boxer briefs with just an insane shape. And that fight sequence and the way it's choreographed and how they interact with the setting around them and how that becomes part of the choreography. And then having that intercut with a group fight sequence with some of the other members of the team that also has a really cool choreographed fight sequence that where they really take advantage of the setting that they're in. Awesome. I love the rhythm of the editing choices. And it's just a really, really cool way for, again, this stunt team to show off, and to have a cool action moment and a cool way to move that part of the story forward, with where it is in context of the movie. So I'm really excited for everyone to get to see that full scene, and get to talk about it. Beautifully crafted and executed stunt work and action sequences throughout the whole film, absolutely breathtaking and gorgeous to see on a massive IMAX screen. I am lucky enough to have seen it on like what's considered a real IMAX screen. We have one here in Arizona where it's like an 80-foot by 60-foot screen. I think that's like 24 by 18 meters, something like that. It's a pretty giant screen. And we have a projector. It's a dual projector system. It does the 1 to 43 to 1 aspect ratio. It does the 70 millimeter film. It also does like the 3D laser projection. Like it is a crazy, crazy piece of equipment that we have here. Um, and I don't actually know a lot of the technical stuff behind out how that works. If you want to know more about it, please go check out the video that Ryan Coogler and Kodak put out. Ryan Coogler knows so much and goes into so much detail about different IMAX and film formats. And the video they did to promote Sinners, which I also got to see in this format in this theater, insane. Um, Point being, if you can, if you have an IMAX theater of any kind in your area, I would really recommend making the trip to go see this movie in the IMAX. It was very clearly intentionally shot for people who are going to see it in IMAX. So if you can manage it, absolutely do it because it is quite an experience to witness the very very sprawling scenery and stunt work that happens, particularly in the plane sequence towards the end. That being said, all of the stunts are as impressive and awe-inspiring as you hope that they'll be. The stunt work in the scene that I just briefly referenced with the red and yellow planes is an unbelievable achievement. I made sure to kind of take myself out of the movie for a minute and remind myself to just think about the fact that Tom Cruise was actually doing that. And even after all these years of being completely aware of his commitment to stunt work, it still impresses the hell out of me anytime he and his team that he works with give us another one because it's just something my brain can't comprehend a human ever actually doing. And they do it so seamlessly and it always looks so gorgeous. And this movie is just more of that. So if you've enjoyed that in the previous films, I really, really think you're going to love what they give you here. I love the concept of the entity as a villain slash antagonist and the way the movie explores the vast array of very human reactions to a situation like that unfolding. It feels very real and it feels very relevant. And in Dead Reckoning and this film, I never really viewed Gabriel as the antagonist. I always saw him as a pawn that the entity was using as a means to try and get to Ethan. I know that Gabriel thinks the entity it was actually using him as like the chosen one to do the mission. But I think the entity always foresaw that Gabriel was going to fail and was using that knowledge to its advantage to ultimately get to Ethan and make Ethan do it. So from that perspective, I think the character works quite well in both films, but I do still mourn what we could have had when Nicholas Holtz was signed on to play the role. So that will always make me just a little bit sad. The final reckoning made me emotional in ways a Mission Impossible movie hasn't before. Uh, I thought the movie had the perfect ending, which I'm not going to get into at all here. I will talk about that in my full spoiler review that I release once the movie itself is officially released in about a week. Um, I don't know if we're going to get another Mission Impossible movie. And if we don't, I think we got a wonderful, really fitting send off for the series. I spent about the last 10 minutes or so watching through tears. When the lights came up, I looked at the people I was with and I was like, why am I crying? What the? So, yeah, I would say they stuck the landing there. Despite the issues I have with the movie, its ability to make me feel so much by the end is what I think movies are all about. I think it's not a perfect movie, and there's a lot of issues I had with it. And there are things I wish I would have done differently. But at the end of the day, it reminded me that I care about these characters and I care what happens to them, and I'm invested in their stories. And I do actually want them to succeed in their mission. And I do want to see them make it out of it alive. And I do want to see them all meet up on a secret island somewhere and not have to worry about going on another mission and them just getting to relax as a group of people just existing, right? And I think that even if a movie doesn't stick the landing in every way, I think one of the most important things a movie can do, if not the most important thing a movie can do, is to bring out an emotional response from you, to tell the story it's trying to tell, and to present the characters and the plot and the aesthetics and the score and everything else and present all those things to you as a finished product and to have it evoke an emotional response from you, to get you to feel something. And this movie really did that to me. I was very, very emotional by the end of the movie, and it caught me by surprise. I didn't think that it was going to make me emotional, and then suddenly I was crying. So do with that what you will. I think fans of the Mission Impossible franchise are going to really, really love and appreciate so much about this movie. I think it's a very fitting farewell if this is the end for these characters and for this franchise, at least for a while. Part of me will be sad to see it go just because it has been such a wonderful tradition for the film community to get to come together every couple years and see what kind of crazy stunt that McHugh and Cruise and all the other directors that have worked on these films and the amazing stunt teams and everybody else involved. We would get to come together every couple years and see what amazing feat they were going to pull off on screen. And it is a bit sad to see that coming to an end, but I think that we should all just be really thankful that we got it and that a lot of the stunt work in this final film really raises the bar and really feels like a fitting place to kind of leave it, at least for now. So I'm really excited for you all to get to see this film. I'm really excited to get to hear what you all think of this film once you finally get to see it. Please go try and see it on the biggest screen possible with the biggest crowd of people possible. Have it be an awesome, just community event because I think if you're with the right group of people, it's really going to get some audible, real, emotional reactions out of people. And I really hope that you all get to have the same kind of experience that I did. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this review. I hope you'll check out my full spoiler review when it comes out in about a week. If you want to find me on social media, all my links are down in the description. Thank you guys again so much for checking this out and for sticking around, and I will see you next time.